Hey guys, it's Gwen. I'm back with another DIY video. This is a Patriotic Decor DIY. I know that 4th of July is already over, but I still wanted to share this idea with you because Patriotic Decor can be for every day if you like to decorate that with that type of style. This unfinished wood sign here is from Ross. I picked up a few years back on clearance. I never quite got around to using it, so I thought I was going to go ahead and make something with it. I meant to have it done before 4th of July, but things got in the way and I never had time to do it. So I'm showing you the label that it came with just for information purposes if you wanted to find out what the dimensions were. I'm also going to be using some cotton nautical rope from Dollar Tree. I'm also going to use some sisal rope, I think is what you call it. It's more like a rough textured heavy duty rope here that I picked up from the hardware store. This is how it looks like. It has like a rough texture, sort of sharp. And then before I start with the rope detail, I'm going to start by staining my piece using this Van Dyke Brown. This is a glaze. It's from the Dixie Belle paint. And I use this glaze as a stain just because I like the tone of the wood. It's not very dark like the Waverly wax, so that's the reason why I opt to use it. Now, it really doesn't matter if, I went heavy-handed or full coverage here because it's going to essentially be covered by rope. I just wanted to have a darker base tone to this in the event that you could see in between the rope, and I just wanted to have a nice darker base. So that's the reason for me staining it. So I took some of this nautical rope. Again, it's from Dollar Tree. I had these in my stash. There were two different, slightly different varieties. I mean, they looked essentially the same, but they just had a slight variation that you really couldn't tell unless you really paid close attention. So first thing I did here was sort of measure out the length of the flag sign and then just ran a bead of hot glue all along and then cut off the excess. I wanted to make sure that they were sitting snugly really close to each other. That's why I'm adding some more hot glue in between the creases, just to make sure that they stuck together. And here I'm just sort of pointing out the fact that before I stained this piece, they had this wood decor had some lines, some grooves, if you will, to outline the flag design. And I'm just going to be using 2 strands of nautical rope in between each of those stripes. And I'm going to make sure to leave a space in between because that's where I'm going to go ahead and put my other style of rope in between. So I'm going to just continue on the same steps here until this whole flag is covered in this nautical rope. Again, I'm just going to skip and, stripes, if you will, and just add 2 strands of rope, hot glue them really close to each other, making sure to leave that gap or that stripe in between. And, because that's where I'm essentially going to be filling it with the other sisal rope. So I'm going to continue doing this. And this step is just repetitive, very easy step. And what I did was I didn't measure or cut out the rope to the size of the decor. Instead, I just started to hot glue it down, and then when I got to the end, as you can tell right here, I just cut off the excess. It was just easier that way for me. Now, after I finished hot gluing all of the nautical rope, I did have a lot of excess on the edges, so I just made sure to trim off as much as I could. Now, with this style of rope, because there's like 2 strands like intertwined, you do have a little bit of fraying on the edges. So I was just trying to clean that up as best as I could. So once I got to the very top of the flag, I went in with my sisal rope. I'm not even sure if that's the correct name for it, but I'm just going to call it that. Initially, I was going to plan on filling each of the space with 2 strands of rope, just as I did with a nautical rope. That way I can fill all of the space, like the empty space, with just rope. But then I decided to go in a different direction. I decided to just fill in the center part of the space, leaving some of the wood to show through. Now, this is where, my ideas start to change, because after I completed adding that sisal rope in between each of the spaces, in between all of the nautical rope, I took a step back, and although, the flag was looking really nice, it had a nice distressed rustic look to it, with the rope and everything. You'll see that I go in a different direction. Now here I'm just going to add some more of this Van Dyke brown glaze in the area where the stars are. I hadn't planned on, I really actually didn't know what I was going to do in this section here, which is why I left it unstained. But since I decided that I was going to go ahead and fill this area with some burlap, I decided to just follow suit and add that stain, just making sure that I, stain everything up to match the rest of the flag. I took more of this nautical rope and just outlined the square portion of it and hot glued that down into place. I think that it gives it more of a cleaner finish look, and just by giving it that outline, it just sort of grounds everything and makes everything more cohesive looking. And then I just trimmed off any excess rope that was hanging over. Now, as I mentioned, I will be filling in this space with some burlap fabric, which is also from the Dollar Tree. I had it left over from some projects that I did, a few projects I did this year for 4th of July. This striped burlap fabric, or actually not striped, this stars burlap fabric is really cute because, it's really easy just to fill in this little square area here. Once I hot glued that down into place, it was just easy to complete the look of the flag. I went back and forth with different options, possibly using some wooden stars to fill in the already, designed stars in the wood. But since I didn't have enough of those wooden stars, I just decided to go in this direction, which I was happy with because I think that it simplified the process of not having to either draw in or paint stars or add wooden stars. Now, to further embellish this and to give it more of a cleaner edge, I decided to go in with a little bit of this jute twine and just again outline the inner edges of the square area here, just because I hadn't measured the burlap fabric, you know, to the T. So I had a little bit of the wood showing through, and I just don't like that look. So I wanted to give it more of a cleaner look by adding that jute twine and just hot gluing that all around. This is the part where my idea went into a different direction, because initially I had intended on leaving it as is, but it wasn't popping or anything, like leaving it like this tone of design, like with the rope and the nautical rope. I felt like it needed red. So I went into my stash of fabrics, and this is from the Dollar Tree as well. It's the burlap fabric that they sell that comes rolled up. And this is just some leftover fabric I had on hand, and I decided to cut strips and then just hot glue each strip of burlap fabric on top of the sisal rope, and just making sure to really tuck it in along the corners and everything all around to cover that rope. Now, I do like the idea here because by adding that sisal rope, it does give this more of a sort of three-dimensional look. Like, it gives it dimension instead of just adding that red fabric to a flat surface. I think that adding it on top of the sisal rope definitely takes it up a notch and gives it more dimension, which I absolutely love. And I just think that it makes all the difference, like looking back at it. Now, again, this wasn't originally planned per se, as far as adding that red burlap fabric. I must say that I really like the direction that this is going, and ultimately I was happy with the overall look. So I'm really happy with this decision that I made to go in this direction. So I'm going to continue just covering all of that sisal rope with this red burlap fabric, and just making sure to trim off as much of the frayed burlap, because burlap is a little bit messy, especially when you start cutting into the fabric. It starts to fray and unravel and everything. It gets really messy really fast. So this is supposed to be more of a rustic piece anyway, so I wasn't concerned with perfection or being too clean or tidy. I think just adds to the character if you have a little bit of the rough edges and whatnot, but I didn't want it to be to the point where it was out of control or anything, like fabric pieces, like just, you know, hanging over and whatnot. So I just did my best to clean up anything that was a little messy looking. And I just continued this step all the way through the top until I finished covering up all the rope in between the nautical rope. So as you can see, this came together rather quickly and easily. I think that the steps were pretty easy and they were repetitive and everything, but super easy to follow. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider joining my YouTube family. It really does help my channel when you subscribe. It is free to subscribe. Also, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And if you enjoy this type of content, follow me for more DIY budget-friendly ideas. I will catch you in my next video. Thanks for watching.